If there's one truth that burglars hate, it's this. The simplest defences are often the hardest to beat. And that ancient secret, something medieval guards relied on centuries before motion sensors and Wi-Fi cameras, has quietly returned as one of the smartest home defence tactics in 2025. Medieval defenders understood something we often forget today. The goal isn't just to detect an intruder, it's to spook them, stall them, expose them, and make them second-guess every step. The real genius of medieval security was its simplicity. No batteries, no software updates, no false alarms from a neighbourhood cat. Just physics, sound, visibility, and human psychology. In medieval villages, guards stretched lines of cord across narrow paths, hung clay pots from branches, or filled wicker baskets with stones that rattled at the slightest touch. These weren't traps meant to injure. They were early warning systems, cheap and incredibly effective. And in a world full of fragile, hackable modern tech, the old methods are making a comeback. Why? Because a passive defence that needs no human babysitting is a prepper's best friend. Let's talk tripwires. Not Hollywood nonsense, but historical reality. A medieval trip alert might have been nothing more than a taut string tied to a suspended wooden charm, or a cluster of dry twigs resting on a ledge. Step on the line, disturb the twigs, and suddenly the night explodes with noise. Simple, brilliant, hard to avoid. These tools weren't about hurting anyone. They were about information. The moment a guard heard that clatter, they knew someone crossed a line they shouldn't have. Today, you can adapt the same idea around gardens, fences and property edges, but safely and legally, using things you already own. Media Group, modern garden fence with DIY tripwire using string, close-up of homemade noise alert setup on rural property, edge-stock, distribute due equally, a wind chime placed low where only a person would disturb it. Dry gravel paths where movement can't stay silent, hanging metal cups or bells that shift when a line is touched. Lightweight, non-hazardous noisemakers that act as early indicators. These aren't traps, they're alerts, psychological pressure points. And unlike a battery-powered sensor, they can't be disabled with a magnet or fooled by a hoodie pulled over a face. Better yet, they add a layer your technology doesn't cover. Sound. Modern cameras see. Medieval alarms scream. Intruders hate noise, they crave silence. And when a garden suddenly rattles like a medieval courtyard waking up, silent entry becomes impossible. Now we're not building anything harmful or dangerous. That was never the point historically. Medieval alarms weren't meant to hurt. They were meant to broadcast. A safe, modern version stays true to that idea. A simple line pulled taut between 2 points, attached to a harmless noisemaker, positioned on your property only where accidental contact is unlikely. You can imagine the effect. One misplaced step in the dark and a cluster of bells or cans creates the kind of sound that makes any intruder freeze. It's not violent, it's not risky, it's just loud enough to expose their presence. Here's the twist that medieval guards never dreamed of. You can pair these old-school alerts with your modern systems. A sound-triggered smart mic, An outdoor camera pointed toward that noise point, a motion light synced to that area. Suddenly, you've created a medieval modern hybrid defense that activates like clockwork, even if your power fails. This is low-cost, high-impact survival engineering. The kind of thing preppers have always excelled at. Medieval castles weren't protected by one wall. They worked because every layer made the next attack harder. That principle applies perfectly to any home today. Start with visibility. Castle defenders cut sight lines to expose enemies. Today you clear bushes, thin out blind spots, and position items so movement is forced into predictable funnels. Next comes the choke point. Castles use narrow gates and walkways to slow intruders. On your property, that can mean simple landscaping that guides movement along a few controlled paths. Paths where noise alerts work best. Where there is direction, there is predictability. And where there is predictability, there is control. And the psychology? That's the medieval secret sauce. A home that gives quiet, subtle signs that someone inside is paying attention becomes a harder target instantly. Noise alarms create doubt. Doubt slows people down. Slow people get exposed. Exposed people walk away. This is what your cameras and sensors alone can't do. They record. Medieval alarms warn. Combine the best of ancient craft with the smartest tech of today, and you get something powerful. A home defense system that's silent until it needs to be deafening, passive until it needs to be active, and simple enough to survive a blackout, grid failure, or cyber attack. That's why these medieval methods are resurging among preppers worldwide. They're proven, time-tested, and nearly impossible to fully neutralize. The new era of survival doesn't ignore the past. It uses it. And if you build your defense the way medieval guards built their night watch, layer by layer, line by line, you end up with a home that is not only protected, but psychologically fortified. Intruders want easy prey. Medieval alarms make you anything but. If you found this long-lost knowledge as fascinating as I do, make sure you subscribe to the Prepper's Survival Blueprint YouTube channel and share this episode with anyone who needs to turn their home into a quiet fortress with a very loud warning system. Your ancestors would be proud.